Chapter 8 Gravitation. Introduction. Early in our lives, we become aware of the tendency of all material objects to be attracted towards the earth. Anything thrown up falls down towards the earth. Going uphill is lot more tiring than going downwards. Raindrops from the clouds above fall towards the earth, and there are many other such phenomena. Historically, it was the Italian physicist Galileo 1564 to 1642 who recognized the fact that all bodies, irrespective of their masses, are accelerated towards the earth with a constant acceleration. Galileo Galilei. Johannes Kepler 1571 to 1630 was a scientist of German origin. He formulated the three laws of planetary motion based on the painstaking observation of Tycho Brahe and co-workers. Kepler himself was an assistant to Brahe, and it took him 16 long years to arrive at the three planetary laws. Kepler's law of planetary motion. In astronomy, Kepler's law of planetary motion are three scientific laws describing the motion of planets around the sun. First, Kepler's first law, the law of orbits. Kepler's second law, the law of equal areas. Kepler's third law, law of periods. Kepler's first law, the law of orbits. According to Kepler's first law, all the planets revolve around the sun in elliptical orbits having the sun at one of the foci. You can see in that image the point at which the planets is close to the sun is known as perihelion, and the point at which the planet is farther from the sun is known as aphelion. Kepler's second law, the law of equal areas. Kepler's second law states the radius vector drawn from the sun to the planet sweeps out equal areas in equal interval of time. You can see that in figure the planet is revolving around the sun, describing the radius vector that sweeps equal area in equal interval of time. Kepler's second law. You can again see the diagram showing how the planet moves from P1 to P2 in time t, and again planet P3 to P4 moves in same time t, that is n area 1 is equal to area 2. Using the law of conservation of angular momentum, the law can be verified at any point of time. The angular momentum can be given as L equals mr omega square. Now consider a small area del A described in a small time interval del t and covered the angle is theta. Let the radius of curvature of the path be r, then the length of the r covered equals r del theta. Del A equals half r dot in small bracket r dot del theta, that is further equals to 1 upon 2 r square del theta. Therefore, del A over del t equals 1 upon 2 r square del theta over dt, taking limit both side as t tends to 0 dA over dt 1 upon 2 r square omega dA over dt equals L upon 2m. Now, by conservation of angular momentum, L is a constant. Thus, dA over dt equals constant. The area swept in equal interval of time is a constant. Kepler's second law can also be stated as the aerial velocity of a planet revolving around the Sun in an elliptical orbit remains constant, which implies the angular momentum of a planet remains constant. Kepler's third law, the law of periods. The square of the time periods of revolution of a planet around the Sun in an elliptical orbit is directly proportional to the cube of its semi-major axis. T square is directly proportional to a cube. You can see that in figure how the planet is revolving around the Sun, and you can also see that the semi-major axis, first are the orbits are ellipses, there are ellipse orbits, and second you can see equal areas in equal time. T square is directly proportional to r cube, where T means orbital period, r equals means distance from the Sun. When something is in orbit, centripetal force is caused by gravitational force. T square upon r square equals 4 pi square gm. mv square over r equals g capital M upon small m oblique r square plus v equals 2 pi r upon t. M in small bracket 2 pi by t square r equals g capital M into small m upon r square. So, t square is directly proportional to r cube. Centripetal force and centrifugal force. Centripetal force. Centripetal force is the force component of force acting on an object in curvilinear motion, which is directed towards the axis of rotation or centered of curvature. F equals mv square over r. You can see that in image how car is rotated around the axis, that is called centripetal force. Centrifugal force. Centrifugal force is a force that arises from the body's inertia and appears to act on a body that is moving in a circular path, which is directed away from the center around which the body is moving. You can see that how arrow is deflected outwards. Universal law of gravitation. Every particle in the universe attracts every other particle with along a line joining them. The force is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. You can easily say that there is m1 and m2 masses having the distance r and having force F1 and F2. In equation form, this is F equals g capital M into small m over r square, where F is the magnitude of the gravitational force, g is the gravitational constant given by g equals 6.673 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square kilogram square. F is the force between the masses, G is the gravitational constant, that is 6.674 into 10 to the power minus 11 meter cube kilogram inverse into second inverse square. M is the first mass, small m is the second mass, r is the distance between the centers of their masses. Newton's law of gravitation applies universally. Vector form. Newton's law of universal gravitation can be written as a vector equation. In this formula, quantities in bold represent vectors. You can say that r1 and r2 are the position vector in figure and r is the resultant vector between the masses m1 and m2. Gravitational force on m1 due to m2 is along r, where the vector r is r2 minus r1. F equals capital G capital M into small m over r square. Equation can be expressed in vector form as F equals capital G capital M small m over r square into minus r equals minus capital G capital M small m upon r square into r, that is further equal to minus G capital M upon small m over r cube into r, where G is the universal gravitation constant, r is the unit vector from m1 to m2 and r equals r2 minus r1. The gravitational force is attractive, that is the force is along minus r. The force on point mass m1 due to m2 is of course minus f by Newton's third law. Thus, the gravitational force F12 on the body 1 due to 2 and F21 on the body 2 due to 1 are related as F12 equals minus F21. For the gravitational force between an extended object like the earth and a point mass is not directly applicable. We have to add up these forces vectorially for all the point masses in the extended object to get the total force. For two special cases, the force of attraction between a hollow spherical cell of uniform density and a point mass situated outside is just as if the entire mass of the cell is concentrated at the center of the cell. The force of attraction due to a hollow spherical cell of uniform density on a point mass situated inside it is 0. Acceleration due to gravity of the earth. The earth can be imagined to be a sphere made of a large number of concentric spherical cells with the smallest one at the center and the largest one at its surface. A point outside the earth is obviously outside all the cell, thus all the cell exerts a gravitational force at the point outside, just as if their masses are concentrated at their common center. The total mass of all the cells combined is just the mass of the earth. Hence, at a point outside the earth, the gravitational force is just as if its entire mass of the earth is concentrated at its center. You can see that in earth's surface, a point outside the earth, the gravitational force is entire mass of the earth is concentrated at its center. Further, you can see that in diagrams there is the d is the diameter between the earth surface and where the mass of the concentrated, and O is the origin of the point and r is the distance between them. The mass m is in a mine located at a depth d below the surface of the earth of mass me and radius re. We treat the earth to be spherically symmetric. Again, consider the earth to be made up of concentric cells as before, and a point mass m situated at a distance r from the center. The point P lies outside the sphere of radius r. For the cells of radius greater than r, the point P lies inside. Hence, according to result stated in the last section, they exert no gravitational force on mass m kept at P. The cells with the radius that is smaller than r make up a sphere of radius r, for which the point lies P on the surface. That is F equals Gm in bracket mr over r square. This smaller sphere therefore exert a force on a mass m at P as if its mass mr is concentrated at the center. Thus, the force on the mass m at P has a magnitude. We assume that the entire earth is of uniform density, and hence its mass is me equals 4 pi r upon 3 r e cube into rho, where me is the mass of the earth and re its radius and rho is the density. On the other hand, the mass of the sphere mr of radius r is 4 pi over 3 rho r cube, and hence F equals capital G into small m in bracket 4 p by 3 into r cube over r square. Further, Gm me upon re cube r cube upon r square equals Gm into capital Me upon re cube into r. If the mass m is situated on the surface of earth, then r equals re, and the gravitational force on it is, from equation we can say that F equals G me into small m over re square. The acceleration experienced by the mass m, which is usually denoted by the symbol g, is related to F by Newton's second law by relation F equal to mg. Thus, g equal to F over m. So, G m e over re square.